Afternoon, Robert. Could we just get team news ahead of Sunday, firstly?
Nothing new have came up, and I think, depending on, but Olivia Holt is training well, so if everything goes well tomorrow, it might be that she's ready for the squad on Sunday. So we're going to wait to training for tomorrow, though, but it might be the case.
I just want to touch on kind of two squad players there, Shuang Wang and Amy James-Turner. Obviously, you've not mentioned that they're injured or anything, but both have had really limited minutes this season. Are they close to kind of like featuring properly in the matchday squad? And are there long-term futures at the club, really?
I mean, it's two different stories, but Shuang is obviously have played very small minutes, and she want to play more. So it's depending on if we find a club that she want to play for and they want to play for, use her, then might be happening. But until we know that, she's still a part of the organization here. So that's the part of that. Amy's on the grass training, but it's not available right now. But she's in around the team, so that's a different story. And we just need to monitor her every day basically and see when she's ready again.
And of course, Crystal Palace this weekend, already played them twice this season, 4-0 in the league, 2-0 in the cup. That's a really good record against them. They're bottom of the table, 5 points from 11 now, but in some matches they've looked quite solid. What are you expecting on Sunday? It must be quite a challenging match again.
Yeah, I think they had a tough start of the league against us and then Chelsea. But like I said last time, they have an excellent manager. They have an organization that shows that they want to stay in the league. They do some really good investments. They have a quality squad, which they have strengthened now. And I'm quite aware of the players they're signing right now. Clarissa I've had before, and Rierling I know about as well. So they are competing to stay in this league, and it's not an easy away game. I saw the game against Arsenal the first last week as well, and obviously Arsenal scored on a corner in the beginning, but it was a quite competitive game until they scored those goals in the end. So I have a respect for Crystal Palace. I think they are better than people might expect when you look at the table, and it's going to be a really tough game. On the other hand, we want to have revenge and get back and show how good we can be. So we're going to go into this game with a good energy and make sure we do a better performance than last game.
Perfect. That's all from me. Best of luck Sunday.
Cheers.
Alex Brotherton.
Hi Robert, hope you're doing well. I just want to ask, obviously you're on a 5-game unbeaten run before that defeat to West Ham in the week. I just wondered, how confident are you that maybe you can use that as motivation and going into the second half of the WSL, put together another a good run to sort of push up towards those upper positions?
Yeah, obviously we had a good run with games, and then there was a tough one against West Ham because we had them in the beginning. We could have scored 2-0, and then when we went to halftime, we all of a sudden down 1-2, and it could actually have been 1-3, to be honest. So that was a tough one, trying to find energy and get back in the game, but we didn't succeed. But today when we had a meeting and the training today showed that the players really want to use the energy from that to make sure we have a good performance at Crystal Palace. Obviously, we have a good run in the league. We are trying to look upwards instead of downwards, so it's an important game in that way. But mainly, I want to make sure we play a little bit better football, that we are a little bit more sharp in the technical things, because I think we created more chances against West Ham than Leicester. So in one way, the Leicester game was actually more poor than West Ham, but we won Leicester, so we could protect ourselves by we won and having a clean sheet. The West Ham, we had some really good chances, and we didn't win that game. So we need to make sure those two games should be... we use the good stuff from those games. We try to reduce the bad stuff and make sure we have a better performance so we can beat Crystal Palace with a good performance.
Just looking ahead, sort of in general, the WSL, in recent years, there's been a little bit of a gap between, maybe the top 4, top 3, and the sort of middle of the table. Do you think this team has has the quality, has what it takes to kind of close that gap, sort of going the rest of the season, but also going forward?
We have the potential in this group to absolutely close the gap, but it's not always just closing the gap, because they also sign more players and keep going up there as well. So it's a mixture of everything. But if you look at what we're doing, what kind of players we recruit, what we're building an organization, the reason we look for a new technical director is to make sure we can grow and become stronger on all areas to make sure we close that gap. So it's not only the starting 11 or me as a head coach, Sanibri Campos as a new assistant coach to make sure we get more staff members. So we're doing everything we can according to the plan, and I'm quite strongly believe that we're going to close that gap. But it's a matter of time, because when you see them signing new players, you also realize that it's not over one day you can close this gap. But I think Tottenham is doing it very clever. They're not doing it just by investing money. They're actually doing the investment in different areas to make sure we can close the gap over time, organically. So I think, I know we're going to do it, but it's going to take time.
Just finally, I just wondered if you had any thoughts on the FA's proposal to introduce B teams into the lower parts of the pyramid. Do you think that's something you'd like to see for development of youth players, or do you think it might have a detrimental impact on sort of teams lower down?
In the long end, I want to make sure we have enough professional teams with the women's team that can actually. So we don't need that. I really hope we can have so many teams in this country that can have a professional environment, so you get the same pyramid with teams connected to that. Until you have that, I think we need to make sure that the young, talented girls in this country can play under the right circumstances. And if that's the case, that we need to make sure we have a B team that play in Tier 3 or something like that, then I think that can help the gap to make sure we get a more professional league. But I'd rather have the teams in Tier 5 to go up and be more investing in their women's team and play in Tier 3 and make sure we have, not our team in their league. But to close the gap, we might need that, because our players need to play good games with good environments.
Okay, cheers, Robert. Good luck for the weekend.
Cheers.
Thanks, Charlotte.
Like, you talked about, you thought maybe you made a lot of chances against West Ham, performance against Leicester was better, but the theme across both those games is the failure to get the second goal. There were plenty of chances actually in both games. Are you concerned that is a repeating pattern, the lack of a second goal, and how are you going to go about fixing that?
I mean, if you ask me after Leicester, I would say a little bit more concerned that we didn't create good enough chances, shots on goal and so on. So, but that was an extremely rusty performance, and the people getting back. So, if you go to West Ham, Martha's finishing in the post is a great finish. It's not bad quality at all. It's a great pass from Claire. So, that's just more small marginals, right? I think Beth having a really good chance as well. I think. Obviously, in the second of Matilda have a great finish where the goalkeeper do an amazing save. So that's why I'm not worried, because we have the talent in the group and we have the players who can do it. I just think we just need to get to those chances even more to make sure we get the second goal, so we can play out and play the football we want to do. Because sometimes you need 2-0 to start playing a little bit more relaxed, and I think that's what you see right now, that we still play and know that it's only 1-0, and then we take a little bit bad decisions, and the flow is not really there. But that's what we're working on. That's how we try to make sure we get to the second goal, and how we can make sure even play that with only one goal. But the main thing is we're working on that all the time to get sure that we get to the next level. But West Ham game, we created enough chances to score at least 2, perhaps 3 goals. I'm still not happy with the performance, but we still created good chances enough. So that's why I'm not worried. But I think we need to make sure we find better flow in the way we play.
And just pick up on a couple of the points Alex made about the development of the game and so on. It's obviously the transfer window now. Do you feel like you're backed right from the top of the club to develop this squad by bringing in new players? You brought in Lisa Kopp, but there's not really been anyone else for the outfield to go into the first team. Do you feel backed by the top of the club to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have a really good structure in the club where we work, like, we don't just sign players. We want to sign players that we have a benefit for. So if you look at Lisa Kopp and you look at Olivia Holt, kind of those players were players we looked for already in the summer. But if you don't really nail the right player in these positions, we don't just take anyone. We wait until we get the ones. So when the club showed me that they actually buy Lisa Kopp for a decent amount, then I think they're really showing me that they go for the goalkeeper we want to have in this squad. Olivia Holt is also a top player that could pick and choose from different clubs in Europe. So when we match that, they show me that they actually invest in the team. And then there's still a few moments left of this transfer window, and who knows if we actually get one more player in. But the main thing is that I'm feeling very back from the club, but also they also have a good structure. And I think you have seen that we look for, and we're going to sign a new technical director for the club, which means that's going to have a massive impact on the recruitment for the future. So until then, we don't want to go crazy and sign too many players, because we want to have a really good structure about how we recruit, what do we recruit, what kind of age group should they wear, how do they fit in the way we want to play. So this is a step by step to make sure we become really good in this league. And I think that's what I spoke about already when I came. It's going to take time. And during this journey, we realized, okay, the recruitment is quite important in women's game, and it's really hard to find data and clips. So you need to have people working with that full time. So that's why we're doing this now. The wider make sure that we actually can find the right talent to make sure we can close the gap. So yeah, the board is showing me everything I need to see that we're actually going to take the steps.
So should we be looking out for any newcomers in the next week?
Probably.
Okay, Dan.
Hey Robert, hope you're well. I just want to ask you about Martha Thomas, because obviously she set the bar so high last season. You know, when Beth was out injured, you know, she maybe find it a little bit more difficult to replicate that this year. You know, what has the goal in midweek done for her confidence?
I think you can tell from that goal that the rest of the game she was more relaxed. I think the finishing she had after that was a good flow in her game, something that perhaps was built a little bit of the self-confidence from the first goal. She trained very well today. She had a few good games before this goal as well, to be honest. She gave away a goal against Crystal Palace in the cup to Matilda Wienberg, for example. She did an assist to Bethany against Brighton. So she's been upgrading her version of herself all the time, and I think she's building self-confidence, and she's an important player for us. So she looks good. She getting the minutes, and we have different types that can play the 9, and I think you need that now when you play so many games. So I just hope that she can get back to the, not thinking and scoring goals like she did, because when we had the best spell when I came was the first 6, 7, 8 games, and she basically scored all the time then. And I know as a striker that's the best feeling you can have. So hopefully she can take this goal and keep going.
And obviously the league game against Palace earlier in the season was the first game of the season. You know, you maybe use it as a bit of a measuring stick to see how far Palace have come. But I suppose in terms of Spurs, looking back at that first game to where you are now, what do you feel you've kind of improved the most over that time?
I think the second half against Crystal Palace in the first game was a really good half. We had a really good flow. Mighty was new with us, but she found a really good link with the players. We were, taking the right decisions. But once again, we scored that 2-0, which gave us the self-confidence to go into that game and show how good we can be. I think many games after that has still been glimpses of that, but we also have lost the quality just because of the tightness in the games, those tough spell of games where we actually lost self-confidence. So then when you work with people with less self-confidence, you need to get back to the root and make sure you win games and find ways. So I think the last 5 games in the league and the cup was getting back to the shape we want to do. I don't think these 2 games this year has been good enough performance-wise. So that's what we're working on. But the main thing where we are still 6th in the table, and I don't think anyone in the team is really happy with the way we performed during all the games. So we still need to improve more, but now we kind of have good periods and bad periods, and we're still top 6 in the table. Last year we were quite good for a long time, and we were still ending 6th in the table. So I think that's perhaps is something where we are now top 6, but we're not really happy with the performance. Last year we were more happy with the performance. So hopefully that says that we are better now, but not performing the right way all the time.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Robert. Best of luck for the weekend, and thank you.
Cheers.
Rachel.
Hi. Can I ask you about the substitutes you made on Wednesday, in that you brought on 4 players at half-time, and I wondered, was that planned or was that a response to the game state?
There was a combination. I think I normally don't do too many changes in half-time. It's not my way of dealing with players, even if they perform well or bad. So it was not nothing to do with those 4 players who came off. It was more like I knew that it's a tough 2-3 weeks with games, and the last 10 minutes was not great in that game against West Ham. So sometimes you can use new energy with players to make sure you try to go for it in the second half, and also protect the players to make sure they are quite fresh for this game who's coming up against Crystal Palace. So a mixture, right or wrong, I'm not sure, but I think we looked a little bit better in the second half, but we didn't turn the game around, so you never know that. But I think at least all the players today looked a little bit more fresh, which is good for the game against Crystal Palace.
And in the final part of that game, you switched Chicky into defence and moved Claire Hunt into a striker role. That's a kind of club? Is that a cup set of decisions? Not something we're likely to see again.
Yeah, that's probably when you see me very desperate to try to find a way to go for it. Yeah, I think you saw it last season when we moved Amy up, and we had a success with that. But normally you want to keep to the plan and try to just push more and more, but I just felt that we didn't really reach the box, and with her left foot to the left could actually kick those ball, and Claire is a good target in that way, but we didn't really have any success anyway with that. So no, that's not us, that's not how we want to do, but sometimes you need to gamble and do something, you need to just do something to try to win the game, right?
And just in terms of, you mentioned before that the technical director, are you specifically thinking that they are going to bring more expertise in terms of analysis, data analysis of players, in terms of signings? Is that one of the priorities?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's a way we work as one club, where we basically going to make sure we have a recruitment policy and system together with Johan Lange and that department as well, and obviously different parameters for women's football, obviously different geography about players and everything, but to be one club and to try to have one identity, you need to also make sure you have a similar way of recruit young talent and the right players. And if you think that the manager can do that, it's impossible with the timing of that. And if you think that you can find talent all over the world now in women's games, so you need people that can have the network. You don't want to use the agents, because then you always end up with a few agents. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you control your own recruitment policy, and that's what the club want to do. And I just love how they want to do it, by actually make sure that they are a part of the recruitment of the new technical director. And of course, that one will work very closely with me as well. But it's not Robert Vilahamn's technical director, it's Tottenham's technical director that makes sure that we build Tottenham for the future, and I really like that.